There's a
Mm.
question here. You want to put it on screen? Yeah. So aside to your project, how important is academic qualification when applying for jobs, or are projects enough? So, in our field in data, we talk about projects very a lot of time, and people just say it online, portfolio projects. They refer to maybe some data set that you have worked on, some of which you downloaded on public spaces, maybe Kaggle and all sort of things, and you're analyzing some trends on and all sort of things in the data. And people recommend that a lot. Now, it's actually aside from that, which is, like I said, personally, I don't really believe lot in that again. As much, I mean, as much as I believe in the experience more than the project. So it's now asking about the importance of academic qualification, and maybe the projects you did during the studies. Do they really count? Are they useful in any way?
Okay, so you've coined it differently. So when she asks, she says, aside from projects, how important are academic qualifications, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
have said, what about the projects that she's done during her academic studies? So I wanted to go at it like this. So there's two things there. So
Mm-hmm.
the academic qualifications are very important depending on the level that you want to go to.
Mm.
Now, they need to be partnered with projects. You can have a doctorate and then be doctor somebody. But if you don't have physical projects that you can demonstrate that you've done, and you don't have genuine experience in the sector, it's so tough within the market that easily they could even get you into an entry level position. So it's such an unfair playing field, because that's how our generation is shifting towards. We don't want to go to university, we just want to go and get a job straight away. That's how
True.
the generation is just switching to YouTube for videos and learning how to master something, AI,
Mm.
machine learning, and all these other things that have nothing to do genuinely with the academic side. But I want to say this because, Dr. Victor, you've mentioned how, what if you've done projects whilst you are doing your academic qualifications? So universities and all these academic institutions have realized that somebody leaves an academic, like the criteria that you would have, the level that you would have achieved as an academician is so high. And then suddenly you're going into the job market and you're like so valueless. They've realized this, and the playing field is changing. So they start to give people more projects within their study, so that when they leave study, they've got
Mm.
worked experience, they've got life experience, they've got things that they can show. As you mentioned, volunteering, they've got things that they can show within their CV already. And that's part of why sometimes someone might come from, I want to give Nigeria as a simple example. You've come from Nigeria, probably a good background of whatever you did. You've got certification for certain things all the way to doctorate level. And then you come to the UK, maybe, okay, so not doctorate level, you come to the UK, do your PhD. Once you've got a project that you attach to that PhD, which is UK based, that's already experience for the UK. So no one should start asking you, you don't have UK experience, because you've already done projects within the UK. So
Mm.
projects and academic qualifications need to be married. They need to be husband and wife. They go together essentially at the same level. So when you are studying, make sure that you can either volunteer or work part time, because it's so painful and frustrating to leave study after some years of applying yourself at university and coming out and not being valued. I think that's one of the other things that the UK is different from many countries, because where we come from, I suppose, especially as Africans, when we've come to the UK, we assume that having an academic qualification is the greatest thing ever, and therefore I'm going to get the biggest job at the top of the company. No, it doesn't. You can literally be swept to the entry level role just because of that lack of experience, lack of projects, lack of portfolios, and things like this. I
Mm.
hope you can still see
Mm.
me.
Yeah, I can still see you. Thank you very much for
And hear
that.
me as
And
well. Yes.
it's questions begets questions, and it's really bringing a lot of questions here. But I'm sure we won't be able to deal with everything. Yeah, but we can actually touch on so many as much as we can before time runs out. So then, there's a particular question. I know some people might not be um maybe able to think about this so much, but it's the way I think, and I want to help people out. Now, I want you to answer it if it's has an effect or not. About the years of experience, through my years of mentorship and mentoring people, I see that because we are unable to secure a role in a particular, field or whatever level we want to get into, some with some the number of maybe number of years of experience on their CV, like 5 years, would be applying to entry level roles or graduate roles. And I say to them that it puts a question on your CV or your experience when you have written on your CV on your profile that you have like 5 years of experience doing analysis. Yes, not UK experience, right? Maybe like 4 or 5 years before you came into the UK and one in the UK, and then you're applying for entry level roles. In my own opinion, my view, that I feel that it's either they question your experience or you don't really have confidence in your ability. Why are you trying to drag this kind of roles with people who are just coming in as entry level? Because people do that. I see it on people's profile, and I'm like, does it really make sense? You claim 8 years of experience, and then you're trying to apply to an entry level role. So what happens to the 10 years of experience? Because I feel people don't want to take advantage of you here because they know that in a matter of time you might leave the role because you eventually find real value. A recruiter will come who knows your worth. Maybe because you're just desperate, that's why you want to get in. And it appears to me like they don't, because of that, take you in at all. How do you see that, please? Having so many years of experience, but applying for a role that is quite beneath your, number of years of experience.
So there's something else that I think people need to know, depending, like, obviously, I don't know where everybody's based. So one of the very powerful things that you need to have is a relationship with your recruiter. I don't know
Hmm.
if everybody knows that. I wish I could say to people, put up your hands to see if you've got relationships with your recruiters, because that's
I
very
do.
important. Do you know why? They will sell you. You are not, you would have done let's say a 60-40 relationship. So you have done 60% of like crafting your CV and putting everything in your CV. When your recruiter now takes the information that you've given to a client, they are able to sell you. So once you've explained to them, look, Lisa, assume the recruiter is called Lisa, this is why I am in this position that I'm in, where I've got 10 years experience. I've had a 4 year gap because I've had children. So now I need to go back into the sector. My experience 8 years ago, well, it's not 8 years ago, my experience of that 8 years is 4 years ago. So therefore now this gap poses a question, and I want to demonstrate it in a way that I have still got the edge, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then Lisa will put in there for you that, okay, during this time, Lerato was childbearing, but she also went to college and did boot camps and did Coursera. So she wasn't sitting at home relaxed, nursing the babies. She was building her knowledge and keeping herself smart, like understanding industry knowledge and keeping up with the commercial awareness that she needs to be able to fit this role. So basically, that's why this country has this whole industry fit. So you have to be fit, a good fit. So that's why it can't always just be by one thing. Is it by academics? No. Is it by projects? No. It's about a whole round of things. When you go into your interviews, you'll be surprised if there's women in the room. I've gone to interviews in the past where you'll find that they could ask you a skill and you could demonstrate your experience of solving a problem by using your childbearing examples. So
Hmm.
that is why life it's so spread out. It's not just a linear event, this interview process that we're talking about here. So you should be able to pull from everywhere. If you don't have the skills, you don't have the capacity, you don't have the knowledge, pull from life experience, pull from life experience and give that as an example. So that's why I say, let your recruiter be your friend. Give them, like, call them so many times and say to them, this is my issue, this is my worry, this is my concern. I really want this job. It's not you showing your desperation, it's just you being able to coin a relationship that this person should be your sales rep and they should sell you, sell your brand, sell your abilities. So once you've got that, I think it sits well with a place where you've now got an advantage. um, I know that sometimes recruiters don't have time to call certain candidates. They just want your CV, pass it on. But some recruiters, especially who are people focused, they want to build a relationship with you so that if, for example, if you so happen to work in that project and it was only for 6 months, they want to be the same recruiter that will place you for the next project. You
Mm,
actually make money for recruiters, but position yourself, communicate your flaws, and don't be ashamed of those flaws because life happens. So don't ever feel like when you explain that I've had to take a 4 year gap because my mom was sick. Life happens. I want to give this example of, I always never remember this boy's name, but I think his last name is Deboko. He's from Botswana. If you guys watch the Olympics, this boy was running and he was nearly beating the guy that's now taken over, Usain
mm,
Bolt. This boy lost his mom. He was depressed when he was about to win. He lost his mom, but he's come back as fire. He is topping a lot of Olympics. We've never seen Botswana on the Olympics list. They
mm,
could come maybe on the marathons and you could just see one or two, but that boy is coming towards Usain Bolt levels. So this is how we shouldn't let life bring us down to such an extent that you're like, oh, I didn't get the job, because I don't have academic. It's never one thing. There's always so many things you can bring to the table. So once you understand what those things are, it makes life simpler. It won't become a chore. I think it becomes your. There's someone that said to me, if you want to master how to get the interview right, have more interviews.
mm, mm. That's that's it. That's it. Oh God. Oh my God. I say this a lot, That was the realm I was, getting yesterday when I said people should not miss this section. Yeah, you
This
know,
is Rem.
validates my thought. People don't want to apply again because they've been rejected several times. I say no. Until the right door opens, you have to keep knocking and keep taking feedbacks. Keep getting it. Keep getting it. For some of us, we are interview snipers. We go to the interview, we get the job, and some, they have to go several times, and it's okay. Perhaps there's something you need to fix before you get to the final one, or maybe it's not just yours. It's not your day yet, or when it's your time, everything will align. Like you said, good fit, perfect fit, and then you just get a job. And the time that day
Mm,
when you get yours, some people will be rejected, and people take things to heart. They take things personal. 100 people applied for a job. They took 20. You are one of them. That's a win. I say that to many
it's a win.
people. You got a call. A lot of people didn't even get. Then you got to the second stage. That means somebody actually believed in you to that point. Then you go to
Mm,
the final stage and they said, well, we gave it to somebody else because once likely. The worst part is when they send feedback to some people. They read all the feedbacks, good feedbacks, like 80%, but they focused on the 20% that wasn't good. And they're like judging themselves by that. I've seen people say, they
mm,
said I didn't have the level of technical skill. That means my skill is
mm,
not enough. Or they said I
mm,
didn't have
mm.
this skill in a particular tool. So they're just going to stop applying until they are able to learn that tool. And I say to you, it was only that job that I asked for it. What if the next job wouldn't even bother about that particular tool because they don't need it? Now you've spent another 3 months trying to learn that tool, and then you start applying again, and none of the jobs you applied to after that time requested for the skill or the tool. So what's the
That's it.
point?
Mm,
People just conclude, and I say this is because we find fault in ourselves more than thinking about the market. It's not just about you every time. The market doesn't really care. Maybe it
mm.
doesn't even know your name or your face. They're just doing the right thing or their normal thing, and you're just a victim. It doesn't have to be that something is wrong with you, every time. And I hope this would sink in deep that they need to keep applying anyway. Never allow life, to pull you down. Like you said, turn
Yeah, no.
everything to, a tool to climb up. And I really appreciate that. And somebody wrote here, this is deep. Yes, it is. Thank you for the depth. And there's a question here, and it's quite long. So, talking about sponsorship, I know I kept it for a while because I don't want us to go into that. This person said, I also realized that most organizations are not willing to sponsor for data. I'll just take this off my screen. It's going to be a lot. Yeah, I've got numerous first stage interview calls from recruiters, but when I tell them my current organization sponsors me and I'll
Mm.
need sponsorship, the conversation ends there. Any idea how to navigate this?
Whew, I guess I don't know about what currently is on, but
Mm,
maybe this might be an old suggestion. So one of the things that I guess are important is just for you. So I think one of the major things that when you are looking for that sponsorship is to understand whether that company sponsors people before you apply.
mm,
But I don't want that to be a put off. I say that because sometimes you might be lucky, especially with smaller organization, maybe even the bigger ones. So you might be lucky that they just are desperate for somebody with your skills. So they actually say, we can sponsor you. So it's the same thing as the door knocking concept you've mentioned. Continue knocking on doors. So you might find that there's organizations that can sponsor you. You might find that others don't advertise the same. Okay, yeah. So I was agreeing with the knocking. So keep knocking. They can either be companies that listed on their website that they sponsor. Others don't, but they could be looking for the skills that you have. So
mm,
once you pass phase one, make sure that you sell the skills that you have as much as you can.
yeah, okay. Thank you so much. I think that's similar to what I recommend, that once they know you have what they want and they really want you, you make them love you. Like they know you are a talent and they are willing to go extra miles, even if they don't sponsor. Because I've mentored people in that way that they never sponsored in the organization, they weren't sponsoring. The person got in, and then after 3 months, move into a role, a three bands higher role, and then ask for
They
sponsorship
sponsor.
after that. Yeah,
Mm,
because she has proven herself that she's quite good and she's formidable and or whatever it is. You can bank on her. So they did anyway. So for people
mm,
searching for sponsorship, I know for Ayomiku, your case is quite different because you're already sponsored. So there's no way you want to go on with that conversation without really getting sponsorship. You can't even resume into the new role. But for some, probably you have like few months or some months, a lot of time left on your current visa, probably post-study work visa. My best advice is for you to get in first. And like you said, if possible, confirm that they sponsor or they do sponsor or they are likely to sponsor. Maybe they can get it because of you. If you have enough time, get in first, 3 months in, when they are doing your review, probation review, or something like that, to know how you have performed. They can ask, what do you want from here? You've passed your probation, you have done well. Think about it to be sure if it's the right time to table it, and then go ahead and have the conversation. The reason why you need to have the conversation as early as possible, 6 months or 3 months, is that in case you need to leave, so that you can start applying to get to the next organization that will sponsor you. But it's easier to have that conversation from my own experience when you have already proven your worth. Your manager will need to go and make a case for you from the HR, the finance team, and whoever
that's
it is,
true.
the director, telling them this guy has proven himself to be, a good team member. He has done X, Y, and Z. I think we can just sponsor him because it's going to cost them money. I think that's another thing. If you're within the private sector, mostly it's going to cost them money. So they want to know if they have that budget for that, or they're really willing to spend that money, you know, on sponsoring you. Or why not just pay a recruiter to get us a new person and then they ask you to go. So I don't know if that makes sense in any way to you, Leato.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Like, yeah, it's very costly to, like I said, as a candidate, you are a gem for a recruiter. So once you are in that role, say an organization, they've placed you there. Sometimes recruiters should also be able to tell you in advance anyway, unless if Ayomikun is talking, he deals directly with companies. But if you are able to get a recruiter that can place you, they should know which companies take sponsorship or which companies don't. It's a bit tricky at the moment because decisions haven't been placed on the table to say yes and no to sponsorship. So I agree with you that strategy works better to just first go inside, and prove your worth, and then they can see that they can sponsor you.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. Yeah, in all you've been saying, I mean, this has been repeatedly, about having a recruiter close to you, or being close to recruiters. Is there a way you recommend to get to that level? You know, being able to access a recruiter. For me, they come, yeah, like message from, and then I try to maintain that relationship, keep it even when I'm not open. Probably because of other people within my cycle or people I mentor, I can always recommend, okay, go ahead and show their CVs and all. Sometimes they don't come back to respond because they're just interested in me or something like that. But for somebody starting moving from this call, let's say starting from Monday or from this evening, how do they start getting that access to recruiters? How do you recommend they reach out and then being able to build a relationship as well?
Yeah, so I think we can use LinkedIn as a base position, but there's other job boards as well. So when you're applying for roles and you've got like multiple roles that you apply for, look for that recruiter. Say, for example, if you went on Read and you saw that a recruiter's name is called Josh and he keeps advertising for data analyst roles, email Josh, hey Josh, as if Josh is your friend. Josh, I am in the process of positioning myself as a good data analyst. I am located in this place and I can see recruit for roles in this location. Is there a way that me and you can have a brief conversation over a telephone call, or I can meet you, Josh, because I feel my CV is quite a strong CV, but I'm struggling to get jobs. Josh will be happy to meet you because Josh knows how much he's going to make. Recruiters make
Oh,
money from you. So it's the lack of confidence that sometimes we have to step forward. So once you've got this conversation, Josh can call you to come into his office, or Josh can contact you via Teams, and you guys can just chat and say, Josh, this is my struggle. I've registered with X amount of companies or job boards, but I'm just being blocked. What is wrong with my CV? And Josh can give you a brief summary of that. Whether this is available, and I'm saying Josh for a deliberate reason, whether that's still available wide scale is another question. And I'm here
yeah.
now trying to sell Dr. Victor's business here. This is why mentorships are available. This is
Mm,
why it's important to have the mentors that will link you directly to either recruiters or companies that they've partnered with. So when you come on board to, when you're in this space already, you guys can link with me on LinkedIn. I can start to introduce you to my network. I can start to introduce
mhm.
you to my partnerships. And we take it from there. Most times, like I said, a recruiter is ready to make money through you. It's just you and them having that conversation and making sure that you have a long term. It's rapport. I believe people, and this is a word that I learned when I came to the UK. Rapport. You don't even say it like it's written, and people don't know what rapport is. So when we say company culture, and you need to understand the UK culture, this is why you need UK experience. You need to build rapport. So yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks a lot for that.